So hyperpressives are everywhere at the moment, and some women say they've completely fixed their prolapse, while others swear by Kegels. So, which is actually better? And should you ditch one for the other? So let's look at what the research says. Now, I completely understand why this question comes up, because when you're diagnosed with a prolapse, you want to know what's going to fix it. You don't want to waste time doing the wrong exercises, and then fear creeps in because you might be doing the exercises wrong. And you want to know what's actually going to help. And that's where it gets confusing, thanks to the internet, because one person says just do Kegels, and another says Kegels don't work, do hyperpressives instead. So let's unpack it. Kegels are a pelvic floor muscle training. So if you've been to a pelvic floor physio, they will explain and hopefully feel to see if you're doing pelvic floor Kegels correctly. So it's an actively lift and hold for a period of time of your pelvic floor muscles. And we have decades of research behind them. They remain the first line conservative treatment for prolapse and urinary incontinence. But they aren't simply about squeezing hard as you can, because some people can actually do things wrong and bear down. And some people need to learn how to relax and coordinate the pelvic floor. So then let's talk about hypopressives. Now, these are a series of breathing and postural exercises that aim to improve how your diaphragm, abdominal muscles, and your pelvic floor work and coordinate together. So they often include a breath hold, and that's what they call an abdominal vacuum. And actually, it feels quite nice. I've had a go at a few of these. They're not just pelvic floor exercise. They're also breathing, posture, rib movement. It influences pressure management and body awareness and releasing tension. So let's talk about these two studies that I came across. Now, I've been following this woman who teaches hypopressives and has done for about 8 years. And she swears by them. She says that she has got rid of her prolapse symptoms by doing this. And for a while, I've actually done a few sessions with her, learning how to do hypopressives and what's it all about. And she shared 2 studies just recently, and it got me thinking because she said that they are better than Kegels. So I looked into these studies, and when you actually read them, that's not actually what they found. Let's go into study 1. The 2020 study compared pelvic floor muscle training, so Kegels, hypopressives, and a combination of both. And the interesting thing was all 3 groups improved. Women reported improvements in prolapse symptoms, bladder symptoms, and quality of life. But hypopressives weren't dramatically better than pelvic floor muscle training. Now, study 2, then there was more recent study comparing how pelvic floor muscle training works with hypopressives. Pelvic floor muscle training tended to improve pelvic floor strength more, and hypopressives showed slightly better quality of life scores. I'm going to get into that in a second. So more importantly, the differences weren't statistically significant. So based on those studies, I don't think we can honestly say hypopressives are better or worse. Now, I wanted to look into what does better quality of life mean, because it could mean anything. When I was reading the research, I wanted to know, because it is important to understand what actually that means and where it can fit into your life. So it doesn't mean that these women suddenly have happier marriages or they enjoy their jobs more or they felt generally happier in life. The researchers used a questionnaire called the Pelvic Floor Distress Inventory, and they've coded it as PFDI 20, but I'm going to put that all in the link below. This questionnaire is designed to measure how much pelvic floor symptoms are affecting someone's everyday life. And it asks questions like, do you feel a vaginal bulge or heaviness? Are bladder symptoms bothering you? Are bowel symptoms bothering you? Are these symptoms affecting your ability to exercise? Are they affecting your normal daily activities? And overall, how much do these symptoms bother you? So when the study says the hypopressive group had slightly better quality of life scores, that's what this really is. So the women reported that their pelvic floor symptoms bothered them a little less in day-to-day life. And now that's important, but it doesn't necessarily mean that their prolapse became smaller or their pelvic floor muscles became stronger or their anatomy of the pelvic floor had changed. It just means their experience of life with those symptoms improved. And this is where I think it gets really interesting, because imagine two women who both have exactly the same stage 2 prolapse, for example. The first woman still occasionally feels some heaviness, but she understands what's happening. She knows how to modify her training when she needs to. She's no longer frightened by every symptom. She lifts weights, she goes hiking, she plays with her children, she lifts them up, she gets on with her life. Now, the second woman has the very same prolapse, but she's terrified of making it worse. She avoids exercise. She constantly checks for a bulge. Every symptom convinces her she's causing more damage. And she's anxious every time she lifts her children. Their prolapse may be identical, but their quality of life is completely different. And I think that's such an important distinction, because when researchers talk about improving quality of life, they don't necessarily mean the prolapse has disappeared. They mean women felt less bothered by their symptoms and were able to get back to living their lives. And to me, that's one of the most meaningful outcomes we can aim for. So why do some women absolutely swear by hypopressives? I think this is where things get interesting again. So hypopressives don't change your pelvic floor. They may help you breathe differently, release tension in the abs maybe, or the glutes, or the rib gripping, improve rib movement, manage pressure more effectively, and you may just become more aware of how you move. And for some women, that may be exactly what's missing. So this is why I don't believe prolapse is solved by one magic fix, one exercise. Some women improve by strengthening their pelvic floor. Others improve because they learn how to manage pressure when they lift. Some improve by addressing constipation, others by getting stronger overall, some by reducing fear and gradually returning to the activities that they love and enjoy. The pelvic floor doesn't work in isolation. It's part of the whole system. So if hypopressives help you feel better, then that's fantastic. Keep doing them. But I wouldn't want women believing they're the answer any more than I'd want them believing Kegels are the answer, the cure, the fix. Your pelvic floor is part of a much bigger system, and the goal is finding the combination that helps your body. And I've shared the 2 studies in the links below, so you can go and do your own reading if you wish. Remember, knowledge is power. Until next time.